Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to another episode of News Dose, where I give you all of the latest gaming news, and we all know the Nintendo Switch has been extremely popular. Nintendo knocked it out of the park with the Switch, and even though it's in its 4th year, it still continues to be in high demand. While PlayStation has been majorly impacted by the Nintendo Switch over in Japan, and one analyst believes that Nintendo has practically eradicated PlayStation from their homeland. There has been rumors and reports that Sony in many ways are giving up in Japan, and this kind of continues that narrative, so we're going to talk about that later in the video. Also, we got some updates on the Xbox Series and PS5 stock issues and what we should expect throughout 2021, and we got an update on the Xbox Series and how well it did during its first holiday. So stay tuned for all of that, but first, we have plenty of other things to talk about, starting off with a brand new PS5 exclusive, Destruction AllStars. This is the first AAA PS5 exclusive for 2021, and reviews are starting to roll out now. It currently sits at a 67 overall score on Metacritic, which is probably not what you want to hear. It's unfortunately getting lukewarm reception as of this moment, but to be fair, your enjoyment isn't tied to a Metacritic score. In fact, I've seen several people today claim that they've been having a lot of fun with Destruction AllStars. I mean, at the very least, this is a PlayStation Plus game, so if you're subscribed to PlayStation Plus, you can try it out and see if you like it. I have to say though, it was definitely smart of Sony to make this a PlayStation Plus game. From the very moment Destruction AllStars was announced, it got very mixed reactions among fans, and a part of that was because they eventually did reveal it was a $70 game. That was surprising for some fans. So I think it was definitely smart for them to bring this over to PlayStation Plus, and we'll see if they can build up a strong community through that. With review scores not exactly being stellar, we'll have to see how the community reacts to it now. There are plenty of cases where reviews miss the mark, so we'll see how this plays out. I haven't tried it out yet myself, but I've been kind of hoping that it would fill that Twisted Metal void. That's a game that's always stuck out to me back on the original PlayStation. Nonetheless, let me know in the comments below if you've tried Destruction AllStars, and do you like it or not. Next up, we got some new Battlefield details. I know some of you are really looking forward to this next Battlefield, not only because it's been a great franchise, but also the thought of what DICE can do on a next-generation console. Battlefield in the past has been one of the franchises that really tries to push technology, and from everything that we've heard, that sounds to be the case yet again. Before though, that was just an unconfirmed leak, but this time it's coming directly from the Electronic Arts CEO, Andrew Wilson. He has officially confirmed that we will get a preview of the next Battlefield this spring. Yeah, you're not going to have to wait too long, but here's where it gets really exciting. He went on to say this: the game takes full advantage of the power of next-generation platforms to bring massive, immersive battles to life with more players than ever before. Featuring maps with unprecedented scale, the next edition of Battlefield takes all the destruction, player agency, vehicle, and weapon combat that the franchise is known for and elevates it to another level. The team is focused and the game is ahead of our internal milestones. We'll reveal the game in the spring and deliver a defining Battlefield experience for our players in the 2021 holiday season. So there it is. The next Battlefield will release in 2021, barring any kind of delays, and they are once again pushing the boundary in terms of gameplay, features, and graphics. I still remember when they showed Battlefield 3 for the first time, and that just blew the gaming world away. It looked amazing for its time, but based off leaks, what this next Battlefield is really trying to do is ramp up the overall scale of the game. One thing that really separates Battlefield from other games is in how it immerses players with full-scale battles in a Warzone-like experience, and it sounds like they're going to take that to the next level. Last month, it did leak that on the Xbox Series and PS5, the next Battlefield will have 128 players on a single map. That sounds absolutely amazing. Battlefield 5, as an example, could carry 64 players, so that is a major jump. That's still unconfirmed, however, but him saying that it will feature maps with unprecedented scale does seem to line up with that leak. I guess we'll see in a few short months, but this should be a fun year for Battlefield fans. Now, we also got some new details on the upcoming PS5 exclusive Gran Turismo 7. So far, we've seen some gameplay of GT7, and Sony did post that it would be releasing sometime this year, but what direction are they taking Gran Turismo in? That really is a big question mark, and well, we now have our answer. According to the GT7 director, it will feel more similar to the classic GT titles such as 1 through 4, and I think most fans will be very happy with that news. Gran Turismo was actually PlayStation's biggest franchise back during the PlayStation 2 era, where 3 and 4 combined to sell more than 26 million units. Yeah, this is a huge franchise, though Gran Turismo Sport certainly took them into a different direction. It was a little bit more focused on competitive play, and not everybody was a big fan of that. It did initially push fewer units than past iterations, but interestingly enough, it gained traction as time went on, as they also let it be known that it has now reached 9.5 million players. So I imagine there are going to be some fans of both GT Sport and its more traditional games, and because of that, it sounds like they're going to try and mix the two together while leaning more towards its classic gameplay. I think that's a good middle ground, and it'll be interesting to see a full reveal of how they balance this game out. Let me know what you think about all this, though. Are you happy they're saying it will feel more similar to Gran Turismo 1 through 4? Moving on, let's talk about the Xbox Series. Yesterday, Sony revealed a bunch of information about PlayStation and how well the PS5 did during its first quarter on the market. The PS5 went on to sell 4.5 million units through its first holiday, which is just absolutely fantastic. That's right in line as to what the PS4 did during its first holiday as well. What about the Xbox Series, though? How has the Xbox Series been doing so far? They did start manufacturing the Xbox Series later than the PS5, while they waited on specific AMD RDNA 2 technology, so you should expect less units sold overall, and now it's being estimated that it's about 1 million units less. Daniel Ahmad posted on Twitter that it was a bit over 1 million, which would put it around that 3.5 million mark. For comparison's sake, the Xbox One sold 3.9 million in the same time frame. So all in all, 3.5 million is actually pretty good considering the state of the world right now and manufacturing issues, and on top of that, the Xbox Series got off to a late start. In all honesty, both the PS5 and the Xbox Series has a much higher demand than that. These numbers more or less reflect how much stock they can produce. They're actually selling out consistently, which actually brings us to our next topic. We've talked about this a lot on the channel, but yeah, the stock situation for the PS5 and the Xbox Series has not been great. They have sold millions of consoles, and they're tracking similar to what they were last generation in the same time frame, which is great and all, but it's become clear that the demand is much higher than what either Sony or Microsoft can produce in a short period of time. This is at no fault of PlayStation or Xbox, but rather its manufacturing issues during an unprecedented time in history. The thing is, I know a lot of fans were really hoping stock issues would start to improve after the holidays, but sadly we've gotten several reports within the last week that says otherwise. Last week, AMD revealed that manufacturing would remain tight throughout the first half of 2021, but should increase during its second half. Of course, AMD is the maker of the PS5 and Xbox Series GPU, as well as the CPU. So that was not a great sign for fans hoping for improved stock. And then earlier this week, Xbox kind of echoed what AMD said. Mike Spencer, not to be confused with Phil Spencer, told New York Times that the Xbox Series would be constrained at least through June. This goes right in line with what AMD said earlier, and now PlayStation has spoken up as well. PlayStation actually pointed to something very specific though, saying that it's been difficult increasing production of the PS5 amid the shortage of semiconductors and other components. So now you have all three saying something very similar, and it boils down to stock issues will likely persist throughout 2021. It sounds to me though that the hope is for increased production during the second half of the year. And in fact, Sony is still committed to keeping the same pace of the PS4 in its second fiscal year, which would be 14.8 million units. So even though it's probably not as fast as what they want, there's still going to be a lot of PS5 shipped and will be similar to last generation's rollout. Now you just need to kind of be patient, and hopefully after June we start to see stock improve throughout the world. As I mentioned earlier though, any numbers that Sony and Microsoft revealed for their respected consoles completely reflect on stock rather than demand. I actually think it's very impressive that both sold as much as they have so far, and it goes to show you they are trying everything that they can to reach demand. I believe both would actually be outpacing the PS4 and Xbox One if they could manufacture more. It's just difficult doing that right now in this very difficult time in history. And while we're on the topic of PlayStation, there's been a lot of talk in recent months that PlayStation is kind of moving away from Japan in the sense that they're making less Japanese-focused games. Several key developers from Sony Japan has left the company in order to create a new studio. There was also a report from Bloomberg saying that Sony has sidelined Japan and that they're losing faith in that region. But Sony themselves insist this is not true. Yeah, there are some very mixed messages happening here. Well, we got a new report today, though this time it's based off of analytics, and it does paint a picture of what's happening over in Japan. The Nintendo Switch has been dominating that region for quite a while, and one analyst has claimed that the Switch has practically eradicated PlayStation from Japan. This is coming from Hideki Yasuda, and he says it's unfortunate, but as he's pointed out in the past, the decline of the PlayStation brand in Japan has become a well-known fact. Yeah, that sounds like a bold statement, but he backs it up with numbers, and the Nintendo Switch is just absolutely insane over in Japan. I mean, it's huge worldwide, but in Japan in specific, it's beyond domination by this point. Apparently, so far in 2021, 99% of all TV game sales have come from the Nintendo Switch. I've never heard of something like that before. That is just crazy, and it shows you the power of the Switch over in Japan. Now, this is for a few different reasons, though. Japan does love their handhelds, and this has been known for a very long time. They're not as inclined to buy into a home console as much as they are with a handheld, and that's a big selling point for the Switch. In fact, the PlayStation Vita did okay over in Japan, whereas it failed in most other places worldwide, and that was with little support directly from Sony. You know what this really makes me wonder though? Why in the world does Atlus not put all of their Persona games on the Switch? They would sell so many units on that console, but you know, this is Atlus, and Atlus will do Atlus things. Those reports of PlayStation sidelining Japan, though, does increasingly seem like that there is some truth to that report. However, I think the biggest impact from that will mainly be with franchises such as Gravity Rush. We might see less games like that developed by Sony in the future, but Sony Japan is still very talented. They just released Astro's Playroom, which was simply amazing, and that appeals to fans worldwide. They'll probably stick with games like that in the future. Either way, big congrats to Nintendo on their success in Japan. The Switch just continues to impress me on a weekly basis. On to the poll of the day though, and ironically, we're going to mention the PlayStation Vita twice in a single video. I did not do that on purpose, but I asked you all if Sony made a PlayStation Vita 2 that could work alongside the PS5, would you be interested? And the results were extremely close, with 45% of you saying no, PlayStation should only focus on their home consoles. The results might change by the time I post this video, but I was really hoping you all would say yes. I love the PlayStation Vita personally. I actually still play it from time to time. Yes, the memory card was way too expensive, but it had some great Japanese games, and the OLED screen for the original Vita is absolutely phenomenal. I think this console still holds up incredibly well even today. Its main problem was that Sony didn't really support it all that well, but if they could find a way to make it work alongside the PS5 in a meaningful way, I would be all in for that. Another handheld console could also help PlayStation in Japan, and I'd be thrilled to see them take one last shot at handhelds as long as they can support it the way it deserves. Anyways though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.